I'd like to call the Monday, October 5th, 2020 Oakwood City Council meeting to order. Would you please rise and join me with the pledge to the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I have a roll call, please, Lori?
Mayor Duncan?
Here.
Vice Mayor Byington?
Here.
Mr. Stevens?
Here.
Mrs. Hilton? Here. Mr. Epley?
Here.
And may I have a report on the minutes of our September 21st regular session and work session? Councilmember Hilton.
Yes, Your Honor. I've reviewed the minutes from those two meetings, and I have found them to be correct and complete, and therefore I move that they be adopted as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So ordered. Under status reports, Councilmember Stevens wants to give our community an update regarding Halloween.
Thank you, Mayor Duncan. At a September 17th press conference, Governor DeWine issued a statement regarding Halloween activities. Governor DeWine reminded parents that Halloween activities will be different this year than in years past. He encouraged parents and children to wear masks, practice social distancing, avoid large groups, and stay at home if sick. Final decisions on whether to hold or participate in trick-or-treating or other events should be made by local communities, individuals, and parents. The state will develop guidance for Halloween, and it will be posted on coronavirus.ohio.gov to help communities and families plan for the holiday. Following the press conference, the state issued a Responsible Restart Ohio paper entitled Celebrating Halloween. That paper provides recommended best practices for conducting Halloween activities. It is posted to our city website. In response to the state guidance, Public Health, Dayton and Montgomery County issued a paper on Halloween safety and trick-or-treating. That paper is also posted to our city website. We believe that parents and adults should make the decision on if and how to celebrate Halloween this year. This includes whether to participate in trick-or-treating. If parents choose to allow their children to participate in trick-or-treating, we strongly encourage following the state and county health district recommendations. Likewise, if property owners choose to hand out candy, we strongly encourage following the same state and county health district recommendations. Halloween is nearly 4 weeks away. If things change and new directives are issued by the Ohio Department of Health and/or Public Health, Dayton and Montgomery County, we will issue updated guidance. That's our statement, and a couple quick comments just to sum it up. We're going to allow families to make their choice. It's their decision. If you want, it's Saturday, October 31st from 6 to 8. If you want to walk around with your children, we ask you wear a mask and try to stay socially distant on the sidewalks, which is usually where everything is. And if you don't, please stay home. If you want to pass out candy, please have your light on and do it outside in individually wrapped candy. Don't put a bowl out and have kids reach in. And if you don't want to pass out candy, we literally ask you to simply turn your porch light off from 6 to 8 that evening, and then turn it on, at 8 o'clock. So that's pretty much it. We're allowing parents to make the decision, and this is our, recommendation as of now. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Stevens. And October 31st is a Saturday, as he said, and it's also the second full moon of the month, which we know as a blue moon. So what else can go wrong in 2020? All right. I do have a letter that we received about 2 weeks ago regarding our Oakwood Public Safety Department. I'd like to read that for our citizens to hear. I am writing to commend the Oakwood Public Safety Department for its excellent service. We moved to Oakwood in 1971 for any number of reasons: schools, beauty of the neighborhoods, friends. We did not think of the Department of Public Safety, but over the years, we have come to appreciate it as one of Oakwood's gems. The speed with which the department responds has always amazed me. The occasion for this letter is an experience of last night. The husband of a couple who are among our dearest friends has, over the last few years, had serious medical problems, and members of the department have frequently helped his wife get him up when he has fallen or transported to the hospital. Late last night, the wife called me in distress. The husband was making no sense, was talking to people who were not there, and was trying to stand up, which he is physically unable to do. I think his wife needed me to confirm that he needed to go to the hospital and to help keep the husband in bed while she called the department. So I was there when 4 people from the Public Safety Department arrived in an incredibly short time. Their grace, kindness, and efficiency impressed me greatly. It was for me a confirmation of what I had already concluded. That is, that especially for someone like me, who is aging, living in Oakwood with that kind of support is most comforting. Please know the staff of the department are appreciated. The 4 officers on the crew that evening were Public Safety Officer Jeff Payne, Ryan Rump, Rob Wilson, and Steve Norris. If you recall, at our last meeting, we honored Steve, for his donation of plasma, as far as recovering from COVID. So I'd like to, again, thank our Public Safety Department for continuing to do a great job for our citizens day after day after day. We have no other status reports. This would be the time that we would have the visitor section of our meeting. And in looking, it appears as though all of you are here to not be a regular visitor, but a special visitor when we have our resolution that I will introduce under legislation. Is that correct? Does anyone want to address us before? Okay. Then I have a resolution recognizing the establishment of the Oakwood Inclusion Coalition. This is a resolution recognizing the creation of the Oakwood Inclusion Coalition. Attached to the resolution is a document that establishes the organization. As explained in the establishing document, the OIC, or Oakwood Inclusion Coalition, is a citizen-driven organization with the mission to study, promote, and celebrate an inclusive, equitable, diverse, and welcoming environment and community for everyone who lives, works, visits, or passes through Oakwood. As a citizen-driven organization, it is not a public office or agency or a public-private joint venture under the city's control. Through the resolution this evening, the City of Oakwood expresses strong support of the mission and purpose of the Oakwood Inclusion Coalition and welcomes the annual report planned for presentation to City Council each January by the OIC leadership team. The City of Oakwood will regularly follow the work of the OIC and will support the organization with representative participation in OIC meetings, programs, and events. Before we vote on this resolution, I would like to introduce Wright Library Director Christy Hale and our former mayor, Judy Cook, who are here tonight to speak about the OIC. Welcome, Christy and Judy.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to share with you the history and vision of the OIC and this citizen-driven group. I'm particularly honored to be a part of this group and to chair it this first year because the mission and vision of the OIC is closely aligned with some library programs that we've been holding for the last 3 years. Starting in early 2018 and inspired by the American Library Association's Libraries Transforming Communities initiative, Wright Library began experimenting with holding community conversations out of a growing awareness that in America today, people with disparate political, religious, cultural, and social views are struggling with one another. Using the Conversation Cafe model for holding community conversations, we developed the Let's Talk program series, which encourages curiosity about others' ideas and promotes respect, active listening, and problem solving among people of different points of view. We've had 20 Let's Talk programs on many divisive topics such as the Second Amendment, Islamophobia, the conservative liberal political divide, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and racism. And we've held 9 other events specifically about anti-racism, including 2 book discussions. The programs have been attended by more than 800 people, and participants have asked for more. These programs help us discover what unites us rather than what tears us apart. So early this year, when a number of citizen leaders, out of concerns about the current climate with regards to matters of diversity, equity, and inclusion, were looking for a way to engage in discussions on race, the library was a ready partner, as was City Manager Norb Klopsch and Superintendent Kyle Ramey. We started meeting in January to talk about how we might create a coalition that would foster an inclusive community through education, programs, and projects that explore and celebrate diversity. While we were under stay-at-home orders and could not meet, the issues of race in America took a more urgent turn, and as soon as it was safe to do so, we renewed our efforts to establish the bylaws that you have before you today. The group will be a volunteer organization of government, school, and library leaders, private citizens, faith, ethnic, and cultural leaders, and representatives from the business and media communities. We look forward to sponsoring, hosting, and supporting events, programs, and educational opportunities that will help us understand and value diversity in all its forms. We'll spend the remainder of this year developing the organization and leadership team and building membership, and in particular, we're looking for community volunteers that might help us form a 501c3 and create a brand and a website. And then we hope to hold our first meeting in January. With that, I'm going to turn it over to former Mayor Judy Cook to say a few words.
Thank you, Christy.
Thank you. It's really good to be here tonight to present a new phase in a very long-standing effort. Having the advantage of many, many years as a resident of Oakwood, I am aware of how we have progressed as a community. Our population has not grown in numbers, but it has grown significantly in the diverse mixture of our residents. We were a great city 50 years ago, but we're an even better city today. Enjoying neighbors with different histories, nationalities, faiths, ethnic backgrounds is a positive addition to our community. It opens the doors to discovery, learning, and lots of enjoyment. For our children growing up, the experience allows them the comfort of familiarity when their lives take them beyond our borders. Over the years, all of this has happened very naturally, without disruption or fanfare. Benefits were recognized, and so we made a great effort to secure the success of what we were doing. For a long time, we had every year a celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday. The breakfast event focused on educating our students. To this day, we regularly invite new residents to a breakfast to welcome them and introduce them to the highlights of city services and opportunities in the city. We are conscious that including takes more than good thoughts. Many voices throughout our community encourage us to travel further along this path and do so in a purposeful manner. The development of the Oakwood Inclusion Coalition will give structure to this effort. Fortunately, we are the beneficiaries of highly successful programs developed at Wright Library under Christy Hale's leadership. They will significantly help us in the development of the Oakwood Inclusion Coalition programs. As citizens, we find Oakwood a great place to call home. We are grateful for the many amenities that make our community appealing and strive to maintain them. It is what we offer to people considering making Oakwood their home in the future. More and more of our citizens want assurances that welcome is expressed as well. The Oakwood Inclusion Coalition's mission is to assure that the message of welcome is clear and genuine, both within our community and beyond our borders. With the participation of our citizens, we will find a common voice that is heard by all and through consensus remove any barriers that are found. I have great confidence that our community is ready to pursue this goal, and I am determined to participate. I appreciate the chance of being here tonight to introduce the Oakwood Inclusion Coalition to all of our citizens. I'd like to conclude by recognizing and give immense thanks to our city manager, Norbert Klopsch. His leadership, assistance, guidance, time, and patience goes far beyond his job description. We could not have reached this moment, I don't think, without his help. Thanks, Norb. We applaud you. Great appreciation.
Does anyone else in the audience wish to address council regarding this? I know the three of you were involved in this process from the beginning, and we appreciate all of your efforts on behalf of the citizens of Oakwood and the community, Miami Valley community at large. Does anyone on council have any comments they would like to address before we vote on this resolution?
Yeah, Bill, I just want to publicly thank the entire planning committee for taking the time to put this together on all the emails, because we'd see a lot of the emails, the documents and the meetings, Zoom meetings, and everything you did to put this together as a citizen-driven organization. So thank you all very much for putting in the time to do this.
Anyone else? All right. So the resolution is recognizing the establishment of the Oakwood Inclusion Coalition. I would move that council adopt this evening, and I would ask for a second.
Second?
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. Lori, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Duncan?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Byington?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mrs. Hilton?
Yes.
Mr. Epley?
Yes.
Thank you. Well, Kyle, there's 2 football games and a baseball game on right now, so you're more than welcome to stay till the end here. Okay.
Wait, I have a question, sorry, since
okay.
Dr. Ramey's here. Mayor Cook mentioned, sort of the racial makeup and how we've made a lot of progress. Dr. Ramey, I was talking to Norb the other day, just because we don't have the census results. Do we have a sense from the numbers you get or see, just are things changing or in any certain direction that is observable by you?
Great question, and I can't speak to the exact numbers.
I don't know. That's good. That's
But I
anything.
know-
Anything, even a trend, is better than what
Certainly
we
has-
can know, except by going to the pool.
Yes, so we certainly have continued to become more and more diverse. Different populations represented in Oakwood that maybe weren't here 10 years ago or 20
Okay.
years ago. I'll have those by our meeting next week. I'll have those specific numbers, but we continue to become more and more diverse, and I think it makes us stronger as a city. I think we continue to get greater and greater with the more diversity and the more voices that we hear.
Excellent. So how do you, do people actually put something on their form when they enroll, or do you just know?
Yes, yeah, so it's part of the enrollment.
Okay.
And some fill that out and some don't.
Yeah, sure, okay.
But yes, we do have that information.
Very good. I wondered that. Thank you.
For our students.
Got it.
Thank you. All right. We ready to go? Yes. Christie? Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay, just wanted to mention that similar resolutions to that the council's passing tonight will be presented for adoption by the school board next Monday at 7 o'clock, and at Wright Library, which will be a virtual meeting, but the link is available on the library's website, or will be, on October 19th at 6 o'clock.
So essentially, the city, the school district, and the library are all supporting this effort. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah.
All right, thank you. I was aware of that, but I forgot to tell you to say that. Okay. All right. Next, we will go on to other legislation, and Mr. Stevens has an ordinance.
An ordinance amending Section 521.12, placing snow on public streets or debris on paved streets of the Oakwood General Offenses Code to expand the prohibition thereof to apply to sidewalks and other public rights-of-way. This is an ordinance to update an existing provision of our General Offenses Code. It was introduced with the first reading at our September 21st meeting. It has always been unlawful to place snow, grass clippings, or other debris in our public rights-of-way. However, the city has experienced issues with contractors doing line clearance work for utility companies who trim street trees, sometimes leaving limbs and branches in large piles along the tree lawns and sidewalks. In some instances, these piles have blocked pedestrian traffic along the sidewalks. This updated ordinance makes it clear that debris includes limbs and tree trimmings and expands the prohibition to include both paved rights-of-way, such as sidewalks and streets, and unpaved rights-of-way, such as tree lawns. The ordinance retains an exception for homeowners who put ordinary yard debris out for refuse collection. This is the second reading of this ordinance, and I move that council adopt it this evening.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion or questions for Councilmember Stevens? Hearing none. Lori, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Duncan?
Yes?
Vice Mayor Byington?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mrs. Hilton?
Yes.
Mr. Epley?
Yes.
And Mr. Stevens has an additional ordinance he would like to introduce.
An ordinance to enact new Chapter 907, Visibility Hazards of the Oakwood Streets and Public Services Code. This is an ordinance to update our Streets and Public Services Code. It was introduced with a first reading at our September 21st meeting as well. As a predominantly residential community, public safety is always a paramount concern in Oakwood. This includes keeping our public streets free of obstructions and hazards that block critical visibility. Our Public Works and Leisure Services departments routinely trim trees, bushes, and other vegetation near roadways to ensure that critical sight lines are kept open. Sometimes sight lines are blocked by trees or vegetation growing on private property adjacent to the street and outside the public right-of-way. Usually we can trim as needed with the property owner's consent, but occasionally the property owner will not consent. This results in enforcement action under the city's property maintenance code, which involves a lengthy court process before the safety hazard is finally addressed. This ordinance will create a streamlined mechanism to deal with these situations more quickly and effectively. It will allow the city to provide written notice to the property owner when trimming needs to be done, which will be based on objective traffic engineering standards from the Ohio Department of Transportation. The property owner can then choose whether to do the work himself or herself or allow the city to perform the work. It also provides an appeal process in the event of a disagreement as to whether the work is necessary. The goal of this ordinance is to establish a clear procedure that protects private property rights and affords due process to residents, while acknowledging the reality that safety concerns need to be addressed quickly. This is also a second reading of this ordinance, and I move that council adopt it tonight.
Do we have a second?
Second?
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Councilmember Stevens? Hearing none. Lori, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Duncan?
Yes?
Vice Mayor Byington?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mrs. Hilton?
Yes.
Mr. Epley?
Yes.
And Vice Mayor Byington has an appropriation ordinance.
Yes, Your Honor. This is an ordinance to amend Section 1 of 2020 Original Appropriation Ordinance Number 4897 and Supplemental Appropriation Ordinances Numbers 4912, 4917, and 4920 to provide for the appropriation of, 1, an additional amount of $60,000 to be expended from the Water Improvement Equipment Replacement Fund for the repair of a storm sewer necessary for the operation of the city's water utility, and 2, an amount of $60,000 to be transferred from the Water Operation Fund to the Water Improvement Equipment Replacement Fund. All this is to be done for the City of Oakwood, State of Ohio, during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2020. This is a supplemental appropriation ordinance to address an important repair for our water treatment plant at the Feld Public Works Center. Part of the treatment process involves the discharge of water waste, which flows through a storm sewer underneath the parking lot of the Public Works Center to a storm sewer main underneath Schaefer Boulevard. The segment that runs underneath the Public Works Center has recently been clogged with scale and is not allowing proper discharge from for our water operations. We were not aware of the scale buildup when we adopted this year's budget, so this repair was originally unbudgeted. The ordinance I'm introducing is a supplemental appropriation ordinance that will authorize the expenditure. It also authorizes the transfer of money from our Water Operation Fund to our Water Improvement and Equipment Replacement Fund to cover these expenses. Under Section 3.04 of the City Charter, this appropriation ordinance will take effect immediately. So this evening, I make a motion the council waive the second reading of this ordinance and adopt it this evening.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions for Vice Mayor Byington? Hearing none. Lori, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Duncan,
Yes?
Vice Mayor Byington,
Yes.
Mr. Stevens,
Yes.
Mrs. Hilton,
Yes.
Mr. Epley.
Yes.
And then finally, Vice Mayor Byington has a resolution he'd like to introduce.
Yes, this is a resolution to amend deadlines set forth in council's previous resolution 1874 and to reaffirm that coronavirus aid money received under the Federal CARES Act will be used for authorized expenditures only. This is a resolution to ensure that Oakwood remains eligible to receive its full allocation of Federal CARES Act coronavirus reimbursement funds. Earlier this year, the Ohio General Assembly adopted Senate Bill 310 to govern the distribution of Federal CARES Act money to Ohio municipalities. Council adopted Resolution Number 1874 in July to comply with the requirement of Senate Bill 310, including the establishment of deadlines for making and reporting qualified expenditures. The Ohio General Assembly has now adopted House Bill 614. This new bill makes additional Federal CARES Act dollars available to municipalities and extends the reporting and payment deadlines that were established by Senate Bill 310. The resolution that I'm introducing now would extend our reporting and payment deadlines to match what is contained in House Bill 614, ensuring that we are eligible to receive coronavirus reimbursement funds under both Senate Bill 310 and House Bill 614. This resolution also includes language that will automatically extend our deadlines to match any additional state-level changes that might be made in the future. The motion I make is that council adopt this resolution this evening.
Do we have a second?
Second?
Any other questions for Vice Mayor Byington? Hearing none. Lori, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Duncan,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Byington,
Yes.
Mr. Stevens,
Yes.
Mrs. Hilton,
Yes.
Mr. Epley.
Yes.
That concludes our legislation. We have a staff report for what seems to be the first one in a long time. And our Director of Public Works is here. Doug, welcome. And we will turn the floor over to you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, staff and guests. It's my privilege to come to you tonight and give you an update on our Engineering and Public Works Department. It is my first time here. I was really anxious the last time because it was just coming out of snow season and we didn't have a whole lot of snow. So we were going to have a good report on our salt, and we still do, as a matter of fact. And we actually got better news. We've got really good salt prices this year. But anyways, I wanted to start off first with a coronavirus impact to our operations. Of course, everyone's dealing with this, and we were trying to figure out. Our focus had to be on how do we continue to serve our residents and do what we do day in and day out. One of the first things we did as a staff is we staggered our starting times, so that would give our crews a little bit less of congestion in our break room, getting them in, out of the building, and onto our regular services. With our staff, we were able to continue our monthly debris drop-off with a small change in how we manage the location of the cars. We also continued our special pickups, our dumpster program, and our document shred event, which I know was just reported. Very successful event with a lot of citizens coming to that event. We also closed our building for just a short period of time. We still work remotely. The only person that worked remotely was our city secretary, Missy Seifert. She was able to work from home, and it was still very effective. We were still able to take calls and dispatch calls and continue with our service. So I'm very proud to say that as a staff, we figured out that our focus had to still be on service and how do we deliver that. And we made some changes to keep our residents and our staff safe, and we were able to do that. On with our projects. So we always have the sidewalk curb asphalt programs. This year we did things just slightly different with our curb program. We split out the Far Hills curb program. That's why I have it listed here separately. Due to the nature of the work on Far Hills Avenue and the traffic that we expected, we knew we'd have a little bit different setup for traffic control. So we pulled that project out separately. The same type of project, it was just something that we knew we'd have a little bit different of a bidder or a contractor working on that project. Luckily, with all things COVID, This actually helped us because when we started the project, traffic was way down. People were still staying at home, so when the contractor got to Far Hills, that took, it was better for the traveling public and for the contractor in the less traffic on Far Hills. It was isolated curb repair on Far Hills from Patterson to the North Corporation line. We spent about $95,000 on that project as budgeted, and that's our continued preparation work for the resurfacing on State Route 48 through the urban paving program in 2024. Our asphalt resurfacing program this year focused on 3 streets in a couple of smaller intersections due to some VECTREN work. We resurfaced part of East Shantz from Patterson to Spirea, also all of Southwood Lane and Delane Avenue. Delane Avenue, I wanted to give some congratulations to our crews. One of the first things I heard from our street department when I got here was all of the preparation work in the catch basins and manhole adjustments they had to do. We did 24 catch basin adjustments in-house on Delane Avenue in preparation for the work, and I know they were concerned about it, and with COVID going on, they figured out how to do it, and they were very successful. So our crew did a lot of that catch basin adjustments prior to the project, and it was a very successful project. We also paved the intersection of Spring Grove and East Shantz, and then just recently we did the northbound lanes of Oakwood Avenue from Far Hills or 5 Points up to Skank Avenue, and that was to repair the trench that VECTREN had recently open trenched with their gas main replacement work. Those 2 projects were completed by VECTREN, invoiced directly to VECTREN. The city spent about $191,000 on our share of the projects that I mentioned, the first 3 projects. Then on to our typical sidewalk curb, driveway apron, and concrete repair project. We did put concrete street repair in this project, again trying to take advantage of the type of work and the contractor we expected would probably bid on the project. This was in our northeast part of the city, area bounded by Far Hills, Patterson, Acorn, Irving, and Springhouse. Approximately $135,000 was spent in this area. The concrete street that we did this year was Oak Forest Drive. We did that in its entirety. If you had a chance to go out there, there was quite a bit of work that was done on Oak Forest. It was something the residents cooperated on very much. We got got the project done in about a week. So our contractor did a great job, and we're very happy to have that portion done. That portion was about $88,200. Our 2021 program, we're still discussing among staff. It's looking like this year, or I'm sorry, next year we may not have that program. The program would move to the west part of town where there's less sidewalk. We're in pretty good shape infrastructure-wise, so it's still something we're considering, but we have considered about not having a sidewalk curb and apron project next year. A few additional projects that we do every year annually. We do our pavement marking program throughout town. We try to have that done before school starts, so the pavement markings are fresh. We do a traffic signal conflict monitor testing, which tests every conflict monitor in our 17 traffic signals throughout the town. We also do our asphalt pavement rejuvenation project. We have not yet completed that project. We look at our remaining funds from all the other projects and typically put as much as we can within our budget towards the asphalt rejuvenation. That's our Reclamite program. And then we have the 2 storm sewer projects. These projects were just bid. The one was the one you just had legislation on tonight for the Public Works Center. It was bid as one project. We have one contractor, but we have 2 parts to that project. We have the Ridgewood storm sewer, which was a budgeted project. It's on Ridgewood from Skank to East Shantz. That storm sewer has failed, and we're completely replacing that storm sewer. And the Public Works Center, as Vice Mayor talked about this evening, is a replacement of part of the storm sewer across the Public Works Center for the discharge of the water treatment plant. And VECTREN is still in the city of Oakwood, strong. This program started in 2010, and we anticipate 3 more years of the project. The project is to remove the old bare steel cast iron and gas mains and services. We put the next graphics in the Oakwood scene to help residents identify the areas. Project Area A, as we came to call it, was kind of around the Harmon Elementary area. Included work on Oakwood Avenue, West Dixon Avenue, Harmon Terrace, Park Avenue, and Runnymede Road. That project, Actually, all the projects, I just heard this morning, are substantially complete. There's still punch work list going on. There's a few more gas services going on. But as far as substantial completion, I'm happy to report that VECTREN is kind of winding down in some of these areas. The project area B was on Skank and Ridgewood. Our project area C, or VECTREN's project area C, was on Runnymede Road, Oakmead Place, Thornhill Road, and Walnut Springs Drive. It was a continuation of the first project down Runnymede Road. And then project area D. Project Area D included a little bit more on Fairmont than we originally anticipated. VECTREN included this late in the year due to gas leaks in the area, so they decided to move that project forward, advance it a little bit, and complete it with the the Del Park Drive work. Moving on to some capital equipment purchases. We had some very large planned equipment purchases this year. I'll give you an update on those. We have a street service truck budgeted for $85,000. The cab and chassis has been delivered to us. It's also been delivered further on to get the upfit work for the toolboxes, bed, snowplow. The project came in at $83,851, slightly below our budget. Large truck, Packer truck. The very expensive trucks, as you know. We budgeted $300,000. We had several quotes for this, got it through cooperative purchasing program, anticipate expenditures of $245,000 for that Packer truck. We recently ordered that truck. It will take several months for delivery. We anticipate it early next year. Refuse scooter, we still have refuse scooter budgeted. This is trying to replace some of the old Cushman scooters. Cushman does not make that model anymore, so we've gone to different models and we're testing out different models to see which is best serving us. We have found something that is very similar. We're just looking into the parts availability, seeing if that's a good option for us. So before the end of the year, we'll come with a recommendation for a recommendation to purchase a scooter. We had water plant controls at 210 Schaefer plant. We expended about $29,700 for that of our budgeted $30,000. This is to upgrade internal controls at our water plant. And then finally, another very large purchase is our sewer Vactor truck, very large truck-based vacuum that we use to clean out sewers, clogs. It's a very used truck in the city of Oakwood. We did expend $391,000 on that truck with a budget of $330,000. We have $50,000 in unanticipated, actually budgeted, but unexpended sewer repairs that we are going to put towards that truck to meet our budget. We expect delivery on that truck yet before the end of the year. We do have a loaner truck from the vendor that they've loaned to us for, we'll have it for about 3 months, and we have that truck in case we need service, which we have used. We continue with our refuse and recycling program, as I mentioned before. Our weekly trash and recyclables collection didn't skip a beat. We have our yard debris and special pickups that continues, leaf disposal and leaf mulch. And speaking of leaves, a week from tonight we start our leaf program. Actually, a week from today we start our leaf program officially throughout the city, but I know our crews have been picking up sudden leaves because I've seen them in our yard. So folks are putting out their leaves because they're falling very early this year. That program runs October 12th through December the 18th. We continue with our self-service at Krager Field, self-dumping for recyclable, yard debris, and cardboard. We also have our monthly Public Works self-dumping and our refuse dumpsters. This slide may be a little hard to see and it may be a little intimidating at first, but let me explain it very quickly. We looked at our refuse collection over the last 5 years. The important one to look at is the top one, if you can see it in orange. That is 2020, so each line represents a different year. The months are across the bottom, January through December, and the tons are on the left side. As you can see, we kind of have a very similar trend across all of our years, except in February. January, February was very typical, and then all of a sudden in March, we increased. Obviously, it's very telling of what people are doing at home. So they were staying at home, they were collecting and getting rid of debris. So we thought this was a really interesting graph. We knew it was up just because of our volumes, but as you can see, then it has continued. It's slightly decreased, but September with our last data, we're getting still a little bit above, but getting back down to a more normal, so it'll be interesting how this graph finishes out for the year. But that was something that I would like to thank Missy. She helped me put that together with all of our data over the last couple of years, and I think it was really telling. It certainly reflected what we were seeing in our everyday volumes and our monthly drop-offs. The Oakwood Rotary Club continues its hazardous waste collection. As a community service project, the Oakwood Rotary Club collects household hazardous waste from residents by calling the 937-296-5155 number or Public Works. We'll get you to a schedule. Our next scheduled collection is the next scheduled collection for the Rotary is Saturday, October the 24th. The Rotary Club does this as a service project. All residents can put out their household hazardous waste, and the club will collect those items for free or a small donation for their service projects. Residents can also take those items every Tuesday and Saturday to the Montgomery County Transfer Station and dispose of those free of charge. Project in our neighboring city of Kettering is the Ridgeway Road Bridge. Residents may have seen Dorothy Lane construction with gas line work. That's in preparation for the replacement of the bridge. The bridge sale date, which is the bid opening date, is on the November 19th, so in about one more month. They're going to completely replace the bridge. It affects us a little bit in the detours that they have set up. So the bridge will obviously be completely closed. They'll close it between Oak Knoll and that is Winding Way in the city of Kettering. This is the vehicular detour set up. Our residents can certainly use the side streets, but for the main vehicular traffic, they have it signed for Peach Orchard, Oak Knoll, and Winding Way in Kettering, which comes out to Dorothy Lane. And then for pedestrians, they have indicated bicyclists can use Fairmont. The pedestrians are routed down Oak Knoll to Far Hills so they may cross at the signal at Dorothy Lane. And then finally, just a few celebrations and planned retirements that we have. We had Kenneth Perkins, our 30-year refuse foreman, retired April 30th of this year. We had a small little socially distanced party for Ken. I know we're going to try to do a little something more with him when we're allowed to. And then Gary Dersch, our water superintendent, over 40 years in the industry. Gary's announced his retirement December the 31st. So in planning for that, Derek Schell, our water technician, applied for the position. We selected Derek to fill Gary's position, and also made a slight change that Derek will also be a foreman, helping out with our sewer and water and sewer line refuse foreman. So Derek will perform the duties that Gary did, and then also have foreman duties as well. Derek's promotion will be effective this November the 16th, and he will work with Gary as he has been through the end of the year. And then with Kenneth's retirement, we instead then hired another general service worker. I'd like to welcome John Wissinger. John came from the Montgomery County and prior from UD. He comes from the Brookville, Ohio area, and I know he had the rental store. His family had the rental store, so he's very knowledgeable with small equipment and knows his way around city service. So we're very fortunate to have John Wissinger. He has a license in water distribution, so John will be a great help to our department. One other challenge that we have, and looking through our pending retirements, or potential retirements, I should say, is we have about 6 folks. We actually had 8. 2 of the folks made this list here, so we're down to 6 folks that are eligible for retirement, so that's going to be one of our challenges. Fortunately, we've had people that have worked 30 years in the city of Oakwood, given a long, dedicated career. And so those folks will be leaving. We have big shoes to fill in the experience, and we're working to do that. We know that's going to be one of our challenges, is we're going to recruit and find good employees. So we thank them for their service. And with that, that is all I have. Trying to make a little joke. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions?
Yeah, Doug, how many refuse scooters do we currently own?
We own 10.
10, and how many usually go out? Do the same number go out every day? You know, I know there's a schedule.
Typically, 5 will go out,
Okay.
and then we'll use some for like a ground man. Now that we're trying to drive everything and keep people separate, we'll have one goes out for a ground man for our yard debris, and then we have any number just kind of as a backup.
Well, I knew we had some as backup, so I just didn't know. So under normal times,
Yes.
we have 5 go out,
Yes.
and there's 5 back at Public Works, but some need to be repaired, things like
Correct.
that. So 5 are out on a regular Wednesday or Thursday. Okay, thank you. Just
welcome.
curious. I've never asked that question. You see them running around. I just never asked how many are out. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
You made a comment about salt. I didn't think we used any salt at all last year.
It was very little.
So we're good to go on salt.
We're full, absolutely full. The consortium we bid through, SWAT 4G, went out for bids, it was early May and in June. We have a price, I wish I would have looked at it, it was $43 a ton, where we were at $70-some a ton. They have an option for a second year as well. It's $50-some a ton, so hopefully keep our fingers crossed. We have very good results with the salt we have. We'll take another small winter as well.
You have anything?
All good news.
Okay. Well, please tell the public, all of your people down at Public Works, I mean, they didn't really miss a beat through all of this. And that's just incredible. And, you know, I think the service they've been delivering is always been top shelf, but even with all the additional things that they had to do in dealing with the distancing and the like, just give them their our kudos, because you know they deserve it.
Will do.
Yeah, I
Thank you,
didn't
Mayor.
know, I haven't noticed one change in their service from this year to last year. And I never even think about that we would have more trash from March to, you know, now, and they still doing their job. And then, you know, you see them out fixing water main breaks and, you know, working on the streets at all times. I mean, they've done a phenomenal job, and thank you, and great job on your first presentation.
Oh,
too.
thank you. I'll pass along the word. Thank you.
The dancing mask is okay. All right. Very good. Well,
Thank
thank you
you.
very much.
You're welcome.
It's now time for our city manager's report. And you're coming up to the podium as well. All right, welcome.
Needless to say, I am very, very, very happy that Doug is with us. Just listening to that presentation reminds us all of the variety of different things that happen down at Public Works. And you'll remember that Doug came to us from the city of Centerville, where he was an engineer and public works director. And while it's a bigger city, I would argue, and I think he'd probably agree, there's a lot more going on here in terms of variety and, you know, balls you got to keep up in the air and just issues to address. And, you know, and I've mentioned this before numerous times, but having 9,200 people in a very small geographic area, you know, 2.2 square miles, all by itself, creates some challenges. But Doug has been an outstanding addition to our staff here. Couldn't be more pleased. Established himself immediately as the department head, very quickly, as you've heard. Figured out what we do here, how we do it. Has begun to think outside the box, which is outstanding. You know, what kind of new ideas we can come up with, or different ways of doing things. So we're again very, very lucky to have Doug. So thank you. Two other quick thank yous. One to our citizens in terms of the yard signs. By and large, our citizenry is complying with our regulations. I think Ethan maybe passes out less than 5 notices a week, and he's finding that folks are immediately complying with our regulations. On occasion, he'll be contacted via phone call or something. He'll explain the situation, and folks take care of it. So if you drive around town, you'll see very good compliance with our regulations, and we appreciate that very much. Don't mention the adult crossing guards very often. It's been several years, but watching them out there, the weather hasn't obviously turned bad yet, but it will. And with the masks and all the extra challenges now, those 4 folks are really to be recognized and commended for what they do. If you can imagine having a job where you have to report 3 times a day, for an hour window of time roughly, that all by itself is a major challenge. So they do very, very important work, and I just want to publicly recognize them tonight. And finally, a comment about the Oakwood Inclusion Coalition. I am very, very excited about it and eager to see it develop. And the next 2 or 3 months, as Christy Hale mentioned, we'll be building the membership. We'll be finding some key volunteers. Again, creating the website is very important. Equally important is establishing the 501c3 status. But then, getting some key folks to participate in that organization from, as you see in the governing document, our faith groups here, the business community, and others is going to be very important coming right out of the chute. And then from there, just watching it develop. And I really firmly believe that this will be well received by our community. We'll have a lot of community involvement from our general citizenry. And at the end of the day, it will make a difference, not only in Oakwood, but the way Oakwood is viewed from outside the area or outside the community itself. So, and I want to, of course, thank our former Mayor Judy Cook for her taking my phone calls every time I call. But half the time I call, she's not home because she's out doing other work in the region.
The real mayor of Oakwood,
Yeah.
so you're referring to.
And I want to thank Christy Hale for agreeing to be the chairperson right out of the chute for this new organization, Dr. Ramey, and the others that helped on our leadership team to put this thing together. So that's all I have tonight.
Any questions for our city manager?
I have a question. Sometime, I would say April or May, council authorized the city manager to approve, I think, I don't know the language, but the point was some outdoor sort of exceptions or things just during the pandemic. And I think the language, in terms of the extent to which that exception applies, it was either December something or until the emergency is over, the emergency. Do we, I don't even hear the word emergency because that whole alert system says this is your emergency thing, but is there, like, I'm thinking of it because I was walking around downtown Lebanon Friday, and they've done some really cool things that would look really neat. I mean, if people decided to, and sadly, probably in the spring, we're still going to have an appetite for outdoor dining. So I wondered, has that date moved, or are we just going with the state language? Or
Well,
does anything happen in December, or can we just assume it's whenever they want?
Well, first of all, we can extend that by simple action of council
Okay.
to wherever we want to.
Okay,
I'll tell you that we have not had any significant applications for
yeah,
that sort
I
of
didn't
thing.
think so.
A couple more informal outdoor seating arrangements have kind of shown up, and we've, of course, been totally fine with
Yeah.
that. But as city manager, I'm very much open to continuing it, as long as is reasonable with the pandemic. I don't, I guess said another way, I've not noticed any reason not to,
Okay.
from a public safety standpoint or
Yeah,
services or what have you, so. Yeah. And our
Anecdotally, I know the carryout business from the Oakwood Club's up 30% from what it has been traditional.
excellent, okay,
And they actually will do carryouts on Saturday now, where in the past they
okay,
did.
okay,
And I've had several people talk to me that just recently did in-house dining or inside dining, and they were very happy with the results and felt safe. So
yeah, okay, so if we were approached on December 31st, whatever, after the date or whatever, I mean, we could just start something new, or we could start something new now, or just whenever we're approached, so.
Correct.
Okay.
And the
I just wouldn't want anybody to miss the opportunity, because there's just so much evidence now about outdoors so much better than indoor to be together, you know.
and our declared state of emergency, I don't recall if it had a deadline on it, or was it just to go carry on as long as the state did, you recall?
There was a December date, or it was probably an or.
Right, so again, I would envision that staff would recommend that we extend
Okay,
consistent with whatever's going on at the state level.
perfect. Thank you.
Anything else for our city manager?
Oh, speaking of, sorry, when I was asking Dr. Ramey about the numbers in the inclusion group and the diversity, do you have a sense of when we'll know the census results?
You know, I don't have that date in my head, but
Okay.
I'm guessing it would probably be May
Oh, okay.
or June of next year. I kind of have that in my head from
Yeah.
10 years ago, but that was a long time ago.
And
I think
Oakwood-
it takes about that long.
Okay, and the last numbers at Oakwood had pretty good participation rate?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah, we have
excellent.
very
I
good.
think we were the highest in the county.
I think, yeah,
The participation rate.
yeah.
Not
Awesome.
certain that we're going to have significantly more people. I think we went from 9215 to 9203, and my guess is we're going to be 92 something.
Well, of relevance for this evening, I'm thinking about the composition, not
Yeah.
the total.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for your report. It's now time for council comments. Councilmember Epley.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a few comments in these unprecedented times.
Mike.
I've taught legal writing at the University of Dayton School of Law, a course called Appellate Practice and Procedure, for over a decade, and many or some of my students are in the process of taking the bar exam right now. It's being held today and tomorrow, and I say unprecedented because normally it's twice a year, and at the last 3 days of July, and then also in February. So they're doing it online for 3 hours, 12 to 3 today and tomorrow. So I join the University of Dayton in wishing all those students good luck passing that bar exam. It's important for our community that they do. And then also, I got to watch the National Honor Society induction on YouTube this evening before we walked in, and want to congratulate all those students who were inducted, including my son, Jack. It's pretty exciting and a big deal for him and our family.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you. Councilmember Hilton.
Yes, Your Honor, I wanted to thank Mr. Stevens for running through the Halloween summary. You know, in my mind, that's, we're not going to stop you, but really look at the guidance, which is going to change, you know, hopefully for the better. But one thing I will say, and he made the good point, if you've got your porch light on, probably you're participating. But I just looked at the calendar. Daylight savings time ends that night, which means we don't go back to standard time until after trick or treat, which means we're going to have an hour of daylight. And I just ask people continue the tradition. If it doesn't look like somebody's participating, really, just please don't waste your time. I mean, really. I mean, I'm not going to stand there and invite people on my porch. So, but for the daylight hours, it might not be as obvious. So.
Very good.
That's all.
Thank you. Councilmember Stevens.
Happy Halloween to everyone. I'm still dumbfounded with Captain Epley's comments. He made comments, and I'm so excited about that. Yes. So happy Halloween to everyone.
Vice Mayor Byington, you know, I have a new pair of glasses, and I noticed that when I look over here, you have something on your mask. Can you explain that to the people at home
I will
who
in a
may
moment.
not be able to see it?
I will in a moment. First comment, though, I wanted to make, and it's my standard October comment, is our next meeting will be the day before the next election. So my comment always at this meeting is, please take this month to do your homework and find out about the candidates. We heard a little bit earlier about, you know, yard signs and that kind of thing, but please, you know, the strength of our nation is that we have an educated electorate, and I beg you to do more than just look at yard signs. I mean, get on websites. These candidates have spent a lot of time figuring out what their policies are, what their stances are on things, and they want to share it with you. They want that information to get across to you and for you to make the best possible decision for your community. So I encourage everybody to do that over the next month or so. And as you mentioned, as my mask says, today is my wedding anniversary. So this evening, I'd like to wish my lovely wife, Beth, a happy 7th anniversary. I want to thank her for all her love and understanding. As a council member, and Mr. Eppley kind of mentioned it a little bit, is our responsibilities as council members often take us away from things that are important to us with our spouses and our families, and they have always been more than supportive and understanding of the things that we do. Same with staff. You're in the same boat with us coming to these events. But we're very fortunate to have very supportive spouses on council. And I just wanted to say I love you, Beth, and I look forward to many more years.
Well, that was very nice. I know that I was honored to attend your wedding and your reception at Dayton Dragons Field.
Fifth Third Field.
That
yeah.
was the coolest wedding reception I think I've ever been to.
Thank you.
So I think you were there too, weren't you, Rob?
All the council, yeah.
Okay. I've been following my absentee ballot. As I said at the last meeting, I sent it in on September 22nd, I think it was. You can actually go online to the Montgomery Board of Elections at Ohio. It's montgomery.boe.ohio.gov. You can type in your name and it'll tell you that they received my request for an absentee ballot 4 days after I mailed it, so that's pretty good. Congratulations to the U.S. Postal Service. And it says that they are going to mail me my absentee ballot this week. And so you also, I saw Jan Kelly, a Oakwood resident, who's the director of the Board of Elections, and she was on WHO Reports Sunday and gave a really good description of all of the proper safeguards and everything they have for making sure that all the ballots are counted. And she had very good information there. There's another website, voteohio.gov, that you can go to find out information about voting. She encouraged everyone that applies for an absentee ballot to mail it back in as soon as possible. And you can not only mail it through regular mail, but you can go drop it off at Montgomery County, and they actually have an outdoor drop box you can do, or you can go into the county building and drop off your ballot, or you can continue to vote the old-fashioned way. Going, in my case, I would go to Smith School on election day. So, and then so I will keep you posted. It'll tell you when my absentee ballot comes back, and be happy to send it in as soon as possible so I can indicate that Mr. Eppley is in the lead for the Court of Appeals second district judge. So, you're going to need more than one vote, but you've got mine. So, and then finally, I found this going through old files. And I think, Ann, your father actually sent this to me, and it was a little story going back to the election of 1824, which was a very contentious election. I know it's hard to believe it was actually more contentious than our current presidential election, and it was between John Quincy Adams, Andrew Jackson, Henry Clay, and John Calhoun got in the middle of it. And it was a very difficult election that ended up getting settled in the House of Representatives. But during this, there was the Raleigh Register and North Carolina State Gazette had a little editorial, and this is so classic even today. But it says, "Because a half a dozen grasshoppers under a hedge make a field ring with their importunate chink, while the great cattle repose beneath the shade, chew the cud, and are silent. Pray do not imagine that those who make the noise are the only inhabitants of the field. Let us not, brother editors, fancy that those who make the most noise are the only people interested in the great national questions now pending. No, many of the wisest and most intelligent men of our country are chewing the cud in silence and anxiously awaiting the result." So with that, we will end our meeting, and our next one, as Vice Mayor Byington said, will be November 2nd on a Monday. We're adjourned.
I would be voting tomorrow with my mom.
Is tomorrow the first day?
Yeah, Board of Elections.
Okay. It was coming up this week.